Hello, talking with Hopeful Pellinor, and I am Solaire B. Mostly chatting about Warcraft today and Ret Paladins. Enjoy.
Pre-patches this upcoming week on Tuesday.
New UI and talents going live.
Yeah,
Last I heard, you said they were still broken.
there's definitely still broken stuff for Retribution Paladin. I can't speak for like the other specs, obviously, because they're just no life Retribution Paladin. But yeah, like, and not small ones either. Like, I mean, there's some niche talents that didn't work, but I mean, it's like one, for instance, would be execution sentence. And then there's two modifying nodes for execution sentence, and those are labeled as capstone talents. They're at the very bottom of the tree, right? For the spec tree. And like those are, those are ostensibly powerful gameplay altering talents, right? And first of all, they nerfed the base execution sentence, which is whatever. But it's like it used to be 20% of the damage you do during the window, the 8-second window. Now it was cut to 10, which is whatever. That's tuning. But the nodes underneath it, there's an AOE format for the talent, and then there's an extension format for the talent for pure single target. The extension for the pure format, or the extension talent for the single target aspect of it is, as far as I can tell, and nobody else in the community, like I've asked like many times, like it is in no way in any scenario ever a DPS increase, which doesn't make sense for something that you would invest your last. This is the very bottom of the tree, right? And then the AOE portion of it is not working at all. So like it's supposed to make it so that your execution sentence, which is traditionally a single target little hammer that falls down for 8 seconds, and then the damage is, the 20% of the damage you deal during that window. Actually, it reminds me very much of ESO because, and I don't remember the name of that specific talent in ESO, but there is that's Wish Zondi was around for that one. Because she would probably know since she played Templar, but it's one where like, not Radiant Destruction. Anyways, you do the same thing. You apply like a little beam of light to them in ESO, and then the damage you do after explodes. And in this case, it's like supposed to be an AoE explosion, and it doesn't hit any targets except for the main target that you do. So it's not functioning at all. It hasn't functioned at all for the entire beta cycle, and it's a talent that is crucial in terms of testing for like AoE scenarios, and it's just not been tested. No one's tested it because it's never worked. That's like, and it took me like 5 minutes to say that. That's just like a minor thing. The bigger one is that there's a talent that is in the class tree. So this affects protection, holy, and retribution, and it's supposed to be 10% damage for extra for your consecration, just one spell. Turns out somebody found out last week, like literally last week, a player found out that it was actually increasing all of our holy damage by 10%. So it's like they've been tuning, right? They're doing raid tests, they're doing all this stuff, they're doing heavy tuning, like they've 35% nerf. You've seen the nerfs. And like, so we don't even know if they know about this. It's been reported, but we don't know if they know about it. And they haven't changed it as of today, as far as I know. I mean, it's Sunday, so they're probably weekend time. But like, basically, if they don't fix it on Monday and it goes live on Tuesday, we're all doing 10%. We're doing 10% more holy damage. And then when they do fix it, will they revert any of the nerfs? Probably not. It's like,
let's put you on the bottom. It's fine. You don't need to work everything.
It's funny. I think like you've probably seen from what people, a lot of the talking heads for a while say, like, it's actually, I'm not sure if they have. You'll have to tell me. But like, do they say it's ready? They think it's ready, like the streamers and stuff, because anyone I know that's testing is like, no, it's not ready.
No, not well. Some are like, I guess it's okay, but a lot of them are like the what is it called? What goes the thing that goes live on 15th? What is that? The event? Yeah, the pre-patch event that goes live on the 15th. Like that's broken. Like it doesn't work.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know there was an event attached. I should have known. I haven't tested that.
They're doing primal invasions or something. Like they usually do for a new expansion, like a spot and then like new stuff to kill, but like it's not working. It worked they had it on for I think 30 minutes for one day, and then they turned it off because it was completely broken.
That is so funny.
And then
I
there's
didn't even test it.
I think some of the I don't know all that much about all the other specs or anything, but I think some are complete mostly. But then there's like
Yeah.
the Paladin, which everybody's like, oh, nope, it's
Yeah,
not ready.
I've heard some grumblings from Guardian Druid and perhaps Shadow Priests. But that's just like total hearsay because I don't know anything firsthand. This is like secondhand stuff. But I know that Paladin is not the only class that has bugs right now. Like that's definitely not the only one by a long shot. But yeah, it's like I don't really know. It must be really crazy. I feel really bad for like the people that are just rank and file workers that are just trying to get the job done. Like I can't imagine how stressed they must be right now because
Crunch time.
yeah, and it's funny because like people always say like Blizzard doesn't do crunch or whatever anymore, and maybe they don't. Like I don't know, but I mean, like, what does it look like over there right now? Because it can't
What
be great.
what is passable? Is it good
Yeah,
enough? Good enough, I guess.
you know what's funny though, man? Like, I mean, I'm not like one of those doomers that's gonna be like, oh, it's over or whatever, but like, it kind of does feel like they can't really screw up too much more, right? Like, I'm pretty sure I did see, and like, we're just taking data from other people since we don't necessarily have it ourselves or whatever. But like I had seen some fairly compelling evidence that like the game subs were at like an all-time low, maybe all-time low recently in Shadowlands. And I mean, I could just say from my anecdotal experience, like I was telling you, like, I mean, at the beginning of season 4, like, yep, I can, find groups and whatever everyone's still pushing. They have objectives to complete or whatever from Mythic Plus and stuff like that. But like it feels like a ghost town for sure right now in the game. And I mean, like, that's somewhat normal, right? The drop off, especially because um you've got, what was it, Wrath of the Lich King beta or classic launch.
Yeah, classic probably splits a
Overwatch
lot of
2.
people at the end.
Yep. Overwatch 2.
Overwatch 2 is
uh
not doing too good right now, I don't think.
I didn't know anything about that. Or no, you know what? I heard. Okay, this is what I've heard. Like I saw little snippets on WiHUD. Like, what was it? They disabled a couple of characters early on, and they even disabled a map recently, right? So it's like I'm not sure. And then I
All
heard something about like malpractice with like money and skins. That's all I've. That's
all
that's
all the people are clowning on it. It's like Overwatch 1.5. Should have just been a
right.
patch. But
Yeah, I've seen the where people change the size of the font and they're like, it's a separate game. I keep seeing people do that.
yeah.
Like it's a different
I think
game.
it was supposed to have like a PvE mode or something that's not coming out for like another 6 months or something. It's not coming out till 2023.
Good lord. What
And
the
I was
hell
supposed
is
to
going
ship with
on?
it.
Okay, I really want to talk about Diablo 4 like really bad, but I know like I don't know. I've researched a little bit about the NDA, so obviously I can't say anything. I'm really excited to talk about it when I can talk about it. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of like people that are actually content creators that'll talk about it a lot more than me, but I just like I just feel like what the hell's going on at Blizzard right now? And I'm not trying to that's not a loaded statement because I think it's okay for me to say like so far like I'm excited. Let's just say that. Like Diablo 4 equals excited for me. That's all I can say. I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
gotta watch out for those
Uh,
NDAs
yeah,
coming for
exactly.
you.
That's I know. I mean, who cares? Something no one's ever gonna like. Who the hell's this guy talking about? Whatever. But either way, excited, right? But I'm like also testing the beta for World of Warcraft Dragonflight right now, and I like just am like, I mean, I want Blizzard to do well, but I'm not sure. Like, yeah, like why didn't they? It seems like a lot of people are saying maybe they should have pushed it back the release a little bit, but I guess that just was like um and this is me again just repeating what I've heard people say. I don't know if it's true, but once they announce like no later than December or whatever, and if they do that
Mm.
in the EU, then like they're completely held to that, specifically the EU. But I don't know if this is true. Um, but I'm
Well, I mean,
like, yeah, I
they
don't know
put
what
a
to
date
think,
on the
dude.
box.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
kind of
really know
kind
what
of
to think.
locked in on that one.
My yeah, Dragonflight, like I want it to do good, but like you said, like I don't know how much more can they really I don't know if the goodwill is there in the community. I don't know if it's been there for quite some time now. Um,
You know you're gonna play it and buy it. Doesn't matter.
well, I know that's the sentiment, right? But actually, people will. You know what? If not for FOMO, I think a lot more people would stop playing. Don't you?
Probably.
Like FOMO is like I know that's more like a social conversation, like about like the almost like the mindset of the players and stuff like that, and um, perhaps beyond the scope of the stuff that we can talk about easily. But like, yeah, I really feel like FOMO and gamification like must be what really drives a lot of people forward to keep playing games like this. Like for me, it's like Paladin. Like I just love Paladin. I want to play Paladin. Um, but
Should they just put in a battle pass for you? Would that get you back in?
Battle Pass. Oh my god.
Just slap
What
some
if
talents in it at the end. Some good stuff.
yeah. And I know I've kind of been rattling on about Dragonflight, but that's like just been pretty much dominating. For me at least, I've just been testing my butt off for
Have you
that.
been testing the dragon flying? Because that seems to be the big ticket that everybody likes.
It's funny, right? I mean, I'm sure you're not surprised by this, but it's like after I leveled and they came out with the other test server where you could buy like the end tier stuff for that high end gear, like I just went and parked myself on Ironforge and I've done testing. Like I haven't even really like for someone that was pushing Mythic Plus as hard as I can, I haven't done a lot of testing with that either, because it's like, although like they were changing their seasonal affixes as recently as last week. So I kind of was just like, I don't even really care to test this stuff. The only thing I could really do is like see what the mobs do in the keys and stuff like that and how it scales. But all of that subject to change. And I know well enough from the seasons that I played alone and the seasons we played together, you got plenty of time. I'm not some guy that's like, I don't need to get like, I'm not going to, even if I wanted to get like rank 1 world with retribution on the first week. It's like you have a huge window of time to push. So I'm like, really, like I don't want to burn myself out. So back to the dragon thing, that actually was the most fun I had. Like when I was leveling and stuff like that.
Mission
The zone,
accomplished.
yeah, the zones look great. I think the zones look great, and the dragon flying thing was really fun because, like, and I'm sure you've probably seen the footage, but it's like you can just get on your dragon, and it's the first time in I don't remember. Yeah, maybe you can help me remember. Was when were we able to level in a new expansion and fly at the same time? When was the last time? Could you do that in Burning Crusade? Or no?
No. Uh-uh.
Okay. Yeah, no, you couldn't fly, could you?
Never.
Oh,
You've never been able to
Wrath of the
fly
Lich.
first.
You remember? No, okay. You remember Wrath of the Lich King though? Didn't you have to have flying to access K2 and stuff like that in Storm Peaks for leveling? Because I remember, because I was so poor back then, I got the reins of the lone wind rider, like you buy the rent a car and that's how you fly.
I
And
think
that
they
was
may
the
have
only
had the
flying mount
rental
I had.
thing in Wrath, but I don't know. It's been such a long
I,
time.
I couldn't remember if that was for leveling people or if it was for capped people. I just remember I was so poor, I kept it, and the only zones I could fly in were Storm Peaks and Sholazar Basin, because I was just that fucking poor. But
Busted.
yeah, pretty much, dude. But so it's cool because you're leveling and then you just jump on your dragon, and yes, it can only fly limited, but it's got this really connected sort of feeling of like fast, and that's always fun. It's fun to go fast and see the little wind rushing by you and do barrel rolls and stuff like that. I mean, it's um that part was a
Oh,
lot of
that's what I've heard. That's
yep.
the fun part. I mean, is it enough to carry
Harry,
the first 6 months?
that is a great question. I
Or the
don't
raid? Is
know.
the raid good enough? Like,
I
is the
only
split
did like 3
mythic good?
bosses. I didn't do. Wait, did I do any mythic testing? No, I didn't want to. I guess maybe that says enough. Like I had an opportunity to do mythic testing and I just turned it down because I was like, meh. You know what I mean?
Shame.
Like I just whatever. I mean, like we're gonna be progging on it or whatever for however long. I'll let these guys test. But I did do like three or so encounters. Um, But I think I just get really turned off from a lot of testing because honestly, like, and this is on me, like being aware of what people are saying at all about specs and balance and encounters, it's always completely revolves around this, like everybody wants to do this forecasting, you know what I mean? Tier lists.
Mm.
This looks good, this looks good. Like, oh my god,
Oh, but
Retribution Paladin's doing
pretty sure
so
they're
much
already out,
damage,
man.
bro. Yeah, exactly. But it's like the tuning isn't, it's nowhere, it's not final, like for instance, if I'm not mistaken, like Windwalker is doing insane damage, like absolutely insane damage. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get a little bit tuned down. Retribution Paladin will probably get hit again because even after the nerfs, we're still really quite strong for us. You know what I mean? Like not like the best DPS in the game, but strong, very strong, like top 5 probably.
Oof.
And traditionally speaking, that's just not allowed, right? So
I'm
I
gonna have
expect
to
to
gonna
be,
have to change that.
yeah, I expect to be tuned down. But that's why it pisses me off because people waste so much time either trying to determine, like they're trying to like scry the viability of a spec and all this other stuff based off of its
Well,
beta DPS, and that's just like, I
I
know
don't think
that
that's
some of
the
the
whole
people,
reason.
no, it's like, oh, you don't think it's the,
Yeah, it's got to make content, man. Got to keep the money train rolling.
oh yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's
Like, I mean,
yeah,
dude, changing a tier list every 2 weeks based on patches, like gold mine. If you already know everything about the specs that you're doing, like
true,
easy
true.
peasy.
I just mean even the peanut gallery, which I'm a part of, like those guys are always like, trying to figure out the viability of stuff and to determine from, I think, a flawed data set, trying to determine that stuff. And it's a good waste of your time. I'm not saying don't speculate. Speculation's fun, but it's bad optics, especially for a spec that has pretty bad like reception from the community. Like, I don't know. I just would be careful with what I said about that kind of stuff. That's all. And then there's a lot of vets out there that are talking right now in the Discord and so on and so forth that are just like, you know, it's going to be, we're doing such good damage. It's going to be season of the Ret, blah blah blah, or saying like, yeah, there's a lot of us people that have been playing this spec for a long time too that are like, it'll get turned down. Like, just wait, it will.
Be 25% nerfs across the board. Patch day.
Yeah, but instead of talking about the things that we started the conversation today with, which is I was talking to you about some of the mechanical issues. I didn't even really get to like the mechanical nerfs that are intentional, but and I won't go there. But like, there's bugged talents.
Oh, that's not great.
The build varieties kind of sucks. I think that the class and spec trees could use a lot of work. I think especially the spec tree for Retribution is like, it's okay, I guess, but there's a missed opportunity there where, like, I know, like, so DH and BM historically, like, Hunter well. Like, what if, and wouldn't you anticipate, if you're a hunter, if you're a BM hunter, like, shouldn't they have, let's say, up to three of the most fun historical builds that BM has had? Have those represented in the class tree or spec tree, right? I don't know if there's like three you can think of offhand, but you're like, these were three of my favorite iterations of BM. Here they are in the tree. But you don't get that. It's not like that. It's like, at least for Retribution, again, like I only test one class and one spec, like extensively, but like that's not what I saw. It's like, here's the 1 minute build, kind of, but you can't even pick up all the talents that are relevant to it. And then it's like, there's no expurgation build, and then there's no other build. There was an opportunity there, and I think if I was a Blizzard designer, I would have thought that's, if you told me we're rolling out this new talent tree, that's all supposed to be all this cool stuff, like that is the opportunity that you had in your hands, but instead it's the usual thing, which I think you probably remember well enough, is like where they take things away and make you buy them back.
Oh yeah, that's pretty typical. You would think that would be a good opportunity to make builds like that in there, but I don't think that was the intention.
Yeah, like, so that's me
They,
just like being stupid, I guess. But I mean, like,
I think I think they just want you to have some talents that you have to be like, oh, I wish I could have got that, but you can't, and you can't now. That's all there is to it. It's the It seems like the same gimmick with more buttons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like true. It's like, so on, Shadowlands Season 4, I have the tier set that with resets of Wake of Ashes is responsible for huge DPS swings. On the beta right now, I can make a couple different builds and move things around, but you know what? The core principle stays the same. I have huge DPS swings because of the stupid tier set type thing. But here's the thing, it's not on your tier set's not on your person, it's in your talent tree. But you still can't escape it because the opportunity cost of not taking the talent that might give you the jackpot DPS is too high. So you have to take it. Or not. Just eat crap, But it's that's what I mean. I'm like,
those are the
that.
decisions for you to make, man. Those are the hard decisions.
They call that a decision, but it's like, yeah. I mean, I know you're obviously, that's facetious, but it's like the DPS outcomes are not deterministic enough. There's way too much RNG. And they don't even have some of the coolest builds that are represented in there. So like,
well, on the plus side, you might actually be able to do DPS and things because they're saying it's the second coming of fucking Pro Warriors.
Yeah. Like we'll see how if I haven't like.
I still think if you burst like you do, you're still gonna like get yourself killed.
Yeah, the last dungeons that I was doing it's hard to test when they haven't finished the tuning, right? So it's like Retribution has DPS troubles, we all do. But when you're doing like 7 times the DPS of everyone else, then you're really having trouble. So I like couldn't get a good idea of whether or not I'm like, is this the spec still, or is it the damage, or is it both? I'm not sure, because like you would need a tank that obviously is like doing a ton of damage too. And I didn't have trouble with the Prot Warrior tanking. That's a good point. And they were doing at the time of my test, they were like the second in line for DPS behind me. So that's like really, really, really high DPS for a tank.
I think they're pretty much getting their Thunderclap build back, as far as I can tell.
Well, that wasn't
their Thunderclaps are going to apply bleeds that give bonuses and that kind of stuff.
They ended up nerfing that when I mean, I know that build was way older than BFA, but I remember in BFA was the last time that the T-Clap build was like really, really strong, and they nerfed it after a season, I think.
Yeah, they're still probably going to nerf it. They seem pretty strong.
Yeah,
as far as I can tell. I don't have any hands on anything.
Well, I should have messed with it, but I wouldn't have known what I was looking at. Been away from Warrior for way too long, but I've heard that it plays really well, like all the spec. I don't know about arms, but I keep hearing people say like Fury's perfect. Warriors are so good, and it's like, how could they not be good? They actually have a developer that talks to them all the time. Like they get 1 million posts. Meanwhile, they keep quietly making changes to my spec, and they don't ever say what they are. So every single build, there's a few of us like sweat lords checking everything, looking for changes. It's pathetic, dude. Like, that I'm doing that. It's also pathetic that they don't talk. It's both. But yeah, have you had a chance to play anything new?
Class playstyle, man. Gotta keep the faith.
Pretty much. I know you were kind of like away, but
new wise, not really. Nothing really new. Still streaming Conan Exiles. It's pretty fun.
Are you did you the Dark Tide? I know we talked a little bit about that. Did you see, I think they posted a video for the Ogren, which recently.
I've seen some gameplay for it and it looked pretty fun. Looked cool.
I just liked watching the class reveal videos, or the whatever you call them in that game. But yeah, I just the Zealot, and I didn't see one for the Psyker yet from Fat Shark Official. So, but I did see the veteran, the Ogren. The Ogren looks pretty cool. Like lore wise, I'd like to learn a little bit more about the abhumans. I guess they're basically like super mutants kind of in that world, but like they don't kill people.
They're big dummies. They lift heavy stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Although this one, I guess, is classified as a boned, which like they have some sort of like cybernetic implant that like maybe makes them smart enough to actually like hold conversations, kind of.
That's yeah, it's supposed to be a smarter one.
Yeah, and I
You can
think
like
that's what
talk
this
and stuff.
Ogren is. Yeah, because he kind of talks in the video like a little bit, but it's actually really funny. Apparently, like he has a thing where like I don't know if it's just when he throws a grenade or if it's like a special ability, but he throws like the grenades, but he doesn't arm them. He throws a box of grenades, just like a total box of them. Just throws them.
That's crazy.
And like I saw the video, like, they were like people were talking about it in the comments. And like, yeah, he just like hucks a box of grenades at the dude, and just like it's. Of course, it like does a lot of damage because he's an ogre and he's just like throwing hunks of metal at you. But there's like a perk where they when they hit the ground they'll like just like blow up eventually or something like that. But people didn't necessarily like that. But the flavor seemed really strong there. You're like, oh my god, he's such an idiot. He didn't even prime the grenade.
From what I know about it, people love the sharpshooter, the veteran guardsman. I guess super popular.
Makes
my
sense,
one
right?
concern is the game might be a computer cruncher.
Yeah. It looks pretty. And I think Vermintide 2 ran fine on my computer, but this looks like it has a lot more going on in terms of lighting, the animations and sound too. So yeah, hopefully it's optimized well enough. Did you look at specs?
No, but I heard some people talking about they got into the beta for it. They had a beta the other weekend. I was like,
yeah,
I didn't know you had to pre-order to get into it, but I didn't know that. So
I didn't know that either. I was like, oh man, how do I opt in? Turns out you. But it's just like
money.
I've really been trying to like get away from pre-ordering games, man.
Yeah,
I've been trying to not do that.
I put up a video about it basically, or well, short anyway.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. That was hilarious. But of course, it's like I want to get access to things and try them out and whatever. But I don't. Dark Tide is and basically any of those games from Fat Shark. Like I know I'll end up playing them, so I don't feel like this huge need to like test necessarily.
I just want to know if my aging computer can actually play it and it, look decent.
Yeah, I mean, I know
I'm gonna. Theme.
Yeah,
I wasn't really into Vermintide, but I mean, magic stuff. But
I wish somebody that I knew was into Vermintide because it was really hard to play that game on my own. But maybe if we can play this one, we could try this one together or something. That would be pretty fun, actually. If I'm not chained to my WoW login.
You're a WoW slave now. That's all you are.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine because it's like I still haven't purchased the game. I guess I should get around to doing that. But it's like I really honestly, because I took such a nice long break from the game, and yeah, I came back and kind of really tried to. It's funny, like I took the break from the game to the point of like, do I just stay away from it forever? And then I came back and I managed to like push myself to do stuff that I was never did before, and then that's fun. But I'm not addicted to doing that sort of thing. It's like I don't want to do that for the sake of doing that. I want to be having fun and connect with the character. That's like just like a me thing. But like I like challenging stuff and I like to push, but I have to still be connected to the character. And I've played hard enough to run into all the people that don't even know what that means when I say that. They're like, what do you mean? You just pick what the best thing is and then you try to push as hard as you can. So like when I was making my push to like try to get to like as high as I could on the world rankings for Retribution as pugging, these are the people I ran into, especially once you start getting and playing with people at 3K or over 3K. Those are the guys. They were like, oh yeah, well, like, and more often than not, the people that I end up talking with would be like the 2.8, the 2.9K people that are really trying to push to 3. And those guys would be like, okay, I'm going to re-roll because I want to get the title this season. And it's like, I would never consider doing that ever because I don't care. I just want to play the spec that I feel like I connect to and that I like in the world.
The game, though, man.
For me, it is.
That's
just me, though. No, it's definitely not the game. I see that. Like, You're right. But for me, that's where I check out, I guess. And I knew that would happen somewhere. You know, I'm like, hey, like if I can't play the spec I like up to this point, then so be it. You know, there's people in the world that have, but they also play with some of the other best players in the world. So it's just how she goes.
I checked out pretty early with that because I'm just what is it? Lowest effort, maximum reward.
That's probably the most healthy way to be, man. Because it's like these are supposed to be pastimes that we enjoy. And I'm not like an effort shaming person or like, you know, it's like, oh, how dare you try hard and stuff like that. Like, not at all. But I
I'm not
do
either,
think,
I mean,
yeah, it's just like, but on the way to like achieving great things, so to speak, or pushing their rankings, I just feel like people completely lose sight of anything except for competition, right? And but that's like, you know, that's not just gaming, is it? I guess that's a life thing.
I've edited some of your videos, man, so you know. I've seen the wait time it is to get into a group to try and push something, and then it just falls apart in 10 minutes. I'm like, oof, there were like 2 hours.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I wasn't even thinking about that at the time. But you're right. Like,
Oh, I was watching it. Like, yeah, it's finally time.
And it was interesting to play. That's the first time I had done that, at least like, you know, really, really on my own, like without knowing anybody. It's nice when you have a group that you actually know somebody in, you have like a social connection and you have a little bit of stability. It was like pretty nerve-wracking, dude, to play with 4 complete strangers at a level at which I knew if I made one mistake, maybe 2 mistakes,
They're
that
gonna
could
tear
break
you
the
a new
key.
one.
Well, it's not just that, but it literally, no matter what you do, could break the run. That's it. And you're just like,
Yeah.
well, there we go. And I remember like there are specific keys in particular where you're like, if somebody dies in this encounter, no matter what we do, even with really, really, unless your DPS is really high, that's game. And like people just knew it. The best players were the ones where, to me, best in the sense of like their patience and attitude, were the ones that were like, okay, guys, GG's. And you're like, everybody just goes their way and they don't have to like slam on each other. Sometimes it'd be like even really high rated players would be like, I'm sorry, guys, I made a mistake on this one encounter. So that's the run. And then we're all like, yeah, we know, it's okay. But
that's devastating if you've had to wait to make a team for like an hour. Because you're playing by yourself.
Particularly devastating if it's my key, which it often was because those are the only keys I was getting into. And then it's like, then that variable, there's like, you know, oh God, there's so many, dude. It's like the 4 people you pick, are they good enough? Like, even if they are good enough, are they on point? Maybe they're going to make a mistake. Maybe you're going to make a mistake. You play perfectly. Someone else makes a mistake. Then you're like, okay, well, shit, there goes the key. Now it's a 24. And now you're like, okay, here we go again. 4 more variables. And then you just, and as you saw from probably parsing through all my stuff, the flow was like during the course of a week, it's like I start with a 25, a 26, and then I go like 24, 23, 22, 21, sometimes down to 20. And then when you get down there, the likelihood of you pushing your key back up all by yourself is like slimmer and slimmer because the people that are more likely to help you succeed they're not going to sign up for that key. So it's like sometimes when you're all alone, it'll keep spiraling down. And of course, I know that there's people that be like, well, what's the common element between all these runs? It's you. So you're clearly whatever. That's actually really stupid to say because like, dude, at 25, like, I think 25, that's where the keys really start to get, that's where people are separated. You know what I mean? Like the chaff from the wheat. And I guess I was the chaff sometimes, but not all the time. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it did really, really well and didn't make any mistakes.
Well, I mean, you were playing off meta. I mean, you're a Ret paladin.
Yeah, that was like that. I didn't mention that, but that necessarily, but that is actually that's from my POV, and like that is the reason why it was so partially so hard for me. Is
oh wait, there's another thing too, isn't there? Your alliance.
Oh right,
already
well that shouldn't.
Biased.
It's funny because that shouldn't matter now with the cross factioning stuff, especially because so for alliance, actually for high end mythic plus, it's actually really good because the dwarves, actually a lot of really high end players re-rolled for dwarf because that's just how you do it, right? You're going to be the strongest. However,
indeed,
as as you saw, like the reason why I would maybe get turned down wasn't necessarily Alliance, but it was for playing human, and I did get shit on for playing human. They're like, as you saw, like I think I even sent you that screen where that guy was like, "You're human, Ret Paladin? Are you kidding me? I'm not gonna play with you." And I'm like, "Okay, sorry, dude. See you later."
Reddit gold.
Yeah, it's
Need
like
that
you came into
stuff.
my key, dude. Like I listed, but I mean, you know, I'm a Ret. You're like, you would have stayed if I was a dwarf. Really? You would have given me a shot if I was a dwarf. It's like,
Gotta get those minimums, bare minimums, man.
Yeah. So it's like
Or you
that
could have,
wasn't
or you could have
fun
probably just played what? I don't know. What's meta in season 4?
for DPS. Survival Hunter, Warlock, Destro Warlock.
Could have played any of
Those.
those and probably been 3K in like what, 2 weeks?
Gosh, I don't know. That would have been if I had any skill with those specs, right? Maybe. I'm not sure. You know, far be it from me to try to say that the people that achieve success are the ones that it's just because of the spec. But I think at the very least, like I'm not trying to do like false humility or anything like that, but it's just like, and I did push just far enough to really see that like there's a whole army of just okay players playing the best specs. You know what I mean? And then you like run into them and you're trying to get past playing with those people, but like they're able to get to that point where you're catching up with them. At least for me, that was the thing. It's like I think I started the season strong, and then of course the meta specs have like, you know, it's not a guarantee as some people would say, but they're like, you know, you're probably going to go 2.8, 2.9 easy, no problem. And then you catch up to those guys again and you play with the same names you saw earlier in the season and you're like, oh, you're still at this rating and I'm still climbing. So
Womp womp.
but then yeah, it's like a really weird thing, dude.
What's that saying? If everybody's Han Solo, nobody is.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I don't know. It's like one of these days, like, I don't know, maybe. But that's the thing is like I could never force myself to play a power spec just because it was a power spec. Like I'd have to really like it. And I don't play Retribution because it's an underdog. That's nothing to do with it at all. It just happens to be like that way.
You just happen to like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I happen to like it. Or I don't even, it's like that was the thing, Kaylee. It was like, she would ask me that, like when I was doing the thing, or like the pushing and stuff like that, because it's like it was stressful and I wasn't even really even thinking about it. But like you said, it's like you can sit there for like 4 hours and fail like 2 runs, and that's all you have to show for an evening of work. Is
That's it.
nothing. It's actually nothing. You have a
4
lower
hours, 20 minutes of gameplay, no achievements.
Let's be honest, on days where I really committed to it, I could go 8 hours or more and have nothing to show for it. Now that's a real kick in the balls. Like that was like, but I mean,
that's
yeah,
what
that's what
people want to
happens.
watch. They just want to see her
Yeah,
descend into madness and failure, wasting so much time
dude.
and
If I
achieving
posted,
nothing.
if I posted and streamed all of the runs, that's probably what they would have seen. Because there was like times where I was just like, what am I doing? You know,
Give
it's
the
why am I
people what
doing
they
this?
want.
Yeah, it's
They want
like
that. They want that character story. They want to see you struggle.
live long enough to become the villain. Because it's like, you know, I really try to be positive or whatever, and then you see me on my worst run, and I'm like, what the fuck? You suck. Oh god, it's yeah.
That's what the people want. Gotta give it to them.
More than a zero to hero, they love to see somebody that tries to be positive turn into a complete asshole.
Zero to villain. That's the new one
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint. Oh my god.
I just want to see people go from being a nice, fun person to being an elitist asshole. The whole process. See you become what you
Yeah.
hate.
God, that yeah, no,
It's the Annie arc. You can do that. There you go.
I never want to do that. That's like that's like the great fear. It's so funny because it's like when you put as much time into seriously one thing as I've done, like you want to be able to talk to people about it and like have your opinion listened to and respected at least to some degree. But if you don't have some kind of accolade, then nobody cares. And it's like because the spec is so whatever, like I don't think, it's like I'll talk to, I don't talk to like the Discord and tell them like, oh, this is who I am, and link my Raider IO profile and like brag and stuff like that. But it's just like occasionally I had asked honest questions. I was looking for feedback from other Rets on, like, for instance, I was like listing a 25 or a 26, and I was like, hey guys, I'm about to do X run. I'm looking for other people who have done this and this level and this key, maybe like, hey, which Lego do you guys think is good for this, or like, hey, which talent setup, like, you think I should change this and this. I just am looking for, like, I know what I might do, and I probably, usually it's not like me to even ask, but because it was like literally the first time I was doing that, I did ask for that information. And then I find out in the Discord, it's like, people are usually nice enough, but they'll be like, dude, nobody's doing that except for maybe like 3 people, and they're not posting. They're not here in this Discord. They don't, like, whatever. And I'm like, okay, shit. Like, nobody's doing this stuff, or at least if they are. And then of course, like, the high end CE raiders, the best in the world, will come in there and be like, no, good Rets do Mythic Plus. So there's always somebody to disqualify what you're doing. You know what I mean? Unless you're
That's the
literally
easy
number
thing to
one in the
do.
world. Yeah.
Well, yeah, then you get to disqualify everybody else, right?
Yeah. Which, if that ever happens, if I am ever able to achieve something that allows me room to, like, talk amongst the community about the state of the spec and all that stuff, and people can't say like, you don't know shit, I'd never ever want to come off to people the way that I've seen other people, like, treat others. And not just for paladins, obviously. Like, I remember for resto druids and stuff like that, Kaylee was, um she was involved in the discords for all of the healers that she played,
Mhm.
because healing is, like, a lot more nuanced and stuff like that in a lot of ways. So they talk to each other about, like, hey, you do this, don't do this. And there's, like, this world's best resto druid, and the way he talked to people was just like, someone would be like, hey, should I keep stacking haste past whatever? And he'd be like, do you see me? Do you see me not stacking haste, bro? Like,
You're
that
an
kind of thing. It's
idiot.
like,
Copy me.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you dummy. Like, the best you can do is watch what I'm doing and hope my greatness rubs off on you. You should be copying every single thing I do. It's like, gross, bro. It is so gross. But that's gaming for you, I guess, huh? That's supposed to be fun, a pastime, a hobby.
Oh, now when it's pseudo competitive, I guess.
Not when your entire personality is wrapped up in it, I guess, or your sense of well-being and self-esteem. It's like, good lord.
I'm
But
surprised you
this,
kept at it if it was so stressful by yourself. That's why I quit playing StarCraft too.
dude, I don't know if this was like for you when you were playing StarCraft, but when you don't realize till you're too deep in, because you just kind of, like, you're playing and having fun, and then you're getting better and having success, and then you just keep going, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is really stressful. I don't know. That's what happened to me, but I just kept going.
I think I realized when I had the nicotine shakes from smoking while playing.
Oh my god.
Just chain smoking while in queue.
Oh my god. I could just, and a game like that, like, I mean, I'm garbage at RTS, but I mean, that StarCraft is like, was that always like an APM type game, right? Like, you had to have your
Yeah,
sequence of
the
build
best
order and
people
be the
have,
fastest.
like, yeah, pretty much. I could
So,
only do
like,
like
if you
200, but like still, like, that's not great or anything, but it was good for me, I guess.
so would the difference between victory and defeat be like if maybe you stumbled for even a split second?
For me, it was, yeah, pretty much. It'd be like, I knew I would win because I did mostly cheese stuff anyway, but I would know if I was going to win at minute 5.
Jeez.
That's it. Like, it's either get everything done and I'll win, or it's gonna go to a long game and then I'll get crushed because, like, the longer the game went, like, the worse I got.
That checks out from what I know of your self-described stylings. It's like all up front, and you're like, not necessarily going for a stamina here. I had like one strategy and I went hard on it, and if it doesn't pan out, I want the game to be over.
All right, you win. Done.
Yeah. You don't do like the protracted engagement type strategy in almost any game, huh? That's like not your style.
No, not really. I don't think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to like if it's going to be like a long game thing, I gotta like check out like I don't know a good portion of like my attention span to something else, or I'm just gonna be like,
Yes. Yep. That's where we're like really different. I get it. Like I kind
I
of
guess it's
don't.
just like
Sometimes I don't
when we
care.
were rating. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
guys, I'm gonna go watch a movie. You guys keep doing it, whatever.
Yeah.
Got my little movie in the little minimize section over there. Yep, it's fine. I'll pay attention until we get to like a new like if we get to a new place, I'll pay attention then. But if not, like I'm just gonna put it on repeat and that's it.
Yeah, and I couldn't do that for myself. I was just like not the way my brain works, I guess. I just sit there and do my best to do the same exact thing every single time, and 2 hours go by and you're like, this sucks.
Well, if you do go too hard, like people start getting weird, man. Like other people will be like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Like you need to give your full attention. And like, it changes stuff. Like the thing that they're not used to, and like next thing you know, they're like struggling to get threat with the major threat pulling tank at the time. So like, because I got
Yeah.
lucky or something, or like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play like full speed now. Okay, man, you guys ready? And then like everybody fucks up everything because things are slightly different.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I think like consistency is I try to go for consistency in general, but
That's
it's
all I'm
hard to do
doing.
that.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be
But
four
you're
hours, man. You gotta tone it down a bit.
yeah, your approach for consistency is more grounded. Mine is like try to do the same exact 100% effort no matter what, and like that doesn't happen. And yours is like, I know it's not going to be 100%, so I'm going to give you 60 for 4 hours instead of 100 for 2 or whatever. Yeah, I guess if that sounds fair.
All
Yeah.
right, guys. I can go like 100% for like 5 to 10 minutes. We got this, right?
That's fair. Actually, speaking of the RNG though, too, it's like um that's actually a real thing for like for me for Ret. It's like I might play the same exact like I have very strict. I do the same things rotationally, but it's like with the procs and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, tank. I didn't mean to pull aggro. I just got 5 resets in a row. That usually doesn't happen. That shouldn't happen, really. It's like that was like I won the lottery. I'm sorry, and then the tank's like, dude, why are you doing such inconsistent damage? Or why are we not
I
meeting
think
this phase? Why are we meeting this phase?
that's
Yeah.
probably the real sign of like the high end game players is consistency. Like if their consistent level is like 100% and they're like, they can game at that same consistency all the time. Like, I mean, that's gonna put them above pretty much everybody else, I would think.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, for sure.
they'll go for the more consistent specs, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never played with a team like that, you know? It's like I don't know if
Wow,
I would be able
you're
to
not
keep up.
playing a consistent spec in the first place, man. So you're already
No. No, it's true. Well, it's like, I guess there's like an average over like 100 pulls. Like it's everything's consistent when you look at it in aggregate. But if we're looking at like 5 pulls and the raid lead is like looking at logs and they're like, it looks like you did like 3K more than you normally do here. What's the deal? 3K DPS more. And it's like, I don't know. It's not usually a problem, but I remember specific instances in my past where I was doing mythic rating, and that was a thing. Battle for Jazara lore. Obviously, it's not just you. There's like 16 other or however many other DPS, less I guess, but so it's not really all about you. But when you're playing a burst spec, and when you're playing one of the burstiest specs in the game, depending on the time you pull that data, yeah, it can make a difference. So it's just like you have like a BFA on the I can't remember the name of them, but it was like there was like you fight it's a duo boss, like a little cleave whatever, and one of them is a windwalker or a monk and one of them's a mage. and like the mage puts down some sort of bomb that you have to DPS, and it has a specific amount of health. But then like if you don't, like you just miss this check. So it's like if only 4 DPS are on said thing, it kind of matters a lot more what the profile of those 4 are, right? So it's like,
oh shit, none of my stuff proc, guys. Oh, it's
yeah,
wiped.
sorry we didn't make the check this time, bro. Didn't get any good lucky procs, and it's like maybe I shouldn't be on that job, you know what I mean? But it's like, did you just hope that the baseline for your burst is high enough to meet whatever job they put you on, I guess, or whatever? And I mean, I'm speaking very generally here. That's like a past thing, and maybe that happened because we were bad. That's probably the case. Maybe it's like maybe our team just wasn't good enough. Maybe that doesn't make a difference when you get high enough because you just know like everybody on that's on this job is going to do like 100%. And but I don't know. I'm not sure. That's not ever been a real thing for me. It's always like been so much more human, you know, where it's like, okay, we had the job, but oops, looks like homie didn't make it, so now we're 3. You know, this guy didn't, you know, he had a job, but he didn't make it over here because he just ate a mechanic, that kind of thing. That's been my rating experience. I think it's kind of been, when we rated together, I think that was our rating experience. You know what I mean? It's like, go back to Castle Nathria on, dude, how can I not remember the last name or the name of the last boss? What's his name? Denathrius. Denathrius.
Denathrius, yeah.
And you remember, like, we had too many melee, so we had warriors that had to go jump over to the little pedestals. And it's like, oh, he died, didn't make it. Or like, they made it, but they didn't make it back. So now we're actually screwed because, like, next time it's like we could live, but yeah, it's just like, and I know that that's not just like a consistency of player issue. That's also a composition issue. But that encounter, right? It's like, what are the chances in phase 1 that one of your DPS isn't going to get their stacks down and isn't going to need a speed boost or whatever? And then
I mean,
if everybody makes it
pretty
downstairs, okay, no, right. The chances should be good, but
I meant that they weren't going to make it.
oh, yeah, the chances
that was pretty consistent, I think. But I mean,
yeah, like we had like
not top level players here.
No, I think that's the part about rating that's crazy, is when you realize that, not that you don't make mistakes, but that over the course of 20 to 30 pulls, you're ready to be consistent. And then like you get to 60 pulls and then 80 pulls and then 100 pulls. And like, there's still people dying on phase 1. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
People and then eventually you start dying because you're tired. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you people get tired.
I feel like the gameplay in Warcraft slows down more the more you know about it, but like you gotta like put in the time for that. Like outside of just the gameplay. Like you can't just like show up once a week and just be like, yeah, no, I looked at it. It's fine. DBM will tell me.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have to learn stuff. And it would help if you actually read about it and know what it looks like, how long it takes. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
No, I
like that
agree.
Like things are fast in Warcraft if you don't know what they are. Like like that time, it just feels like it's so fast, and it's really not, because like what you have 2-second GCDs, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like 1.75 on average or whatever. Yeah, it's like
like that's like 1 Mississippi, and like they're the swing speeds and stuff aren't that high or anything. So I mean, you have time if you aren't panicked and confused by all the colors, I guess.
Well, and this is what I always suspected, nobody ever fessed up to it, but I suspect that most players are so unpracticed with their rotations that 80% of their brain power goes to doing their rotation because they're just looking down at their bars instead of the game space.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, probably.
So, like, so if you're that guy that's doing that, then you're going to be taken by surprise by, like you said, actually, that's really well said, that if you don't know what's going on, the game seems fast because you're blindsided by everything. You're like, oh shit, what's happening? Oh no. How else would that happen, right? How else would you be like, every time you're not ready for this mechanic? How is that possible? Well, what was he looking at? His goddamn bars. Where
Well,
he
they
was looking
fixed
at the
that, man.
meters, or he was looking at the meters like, oh yeah, bro.
Did you see the Blizzard post about the new UI? They were like, this is UI perfection, and it's a Warlock picture.
No.
Where like all of his UI elements are immediately around the character model. Like the two sides of his character model are nothing but his buttons. The mini map is right above his head. There's two chats on either side of that. And they're like, this is what prime UI looks like. And you're like, wow, like people are going to play that way. Like, no doubt about it. They're going to do that.
Yep.
Like you can't see anything around him either. It's just all his buttons. You see his little character model and just empty screen all on the outsides.
I'm not gonna lie, like if you look at my UI, like there's some weak auras that are like right next to my character's legs and stuff like that. But I laugh because I played with some people in Mythic Plus that like unironically actually put weak auras and warnings and stuff like that on top of their character, like so they could never really see their character. You know what I mean? Because they're like, okay, fine. I know
it's in the middle.
Yeah, they're like, I know that I'm good if I have this X or this box over my character's face, like their entire character model, or like if the weak aura falls off, then it's like right there. Yeah, I don't know, man. When we were a lot younger doing PvP, I remember doing the full UI overhauls after Jordan got me into them and stuff like that. Where like
the only one I ever did was moving the buttons. I made them look like the Naga mouse.
Yeah. I remember. Go ahead.
I quit doing that after Pandaria, I think.
Yeah. I remember spending a lot of time getting it to where like I didn't have like nothing really showed up unless I moved my mouse to a specific spot to the left of my character and then like a little like radial thing popped out. But that's just like not necessary, you know? And that's just like I think because like, you know, with every update, you're like, oop, this is broken now. Hope you can play with stock UI. So after a while, I was just like, screw it, stock UI. I probably got turned down. What was the worst part?
The worst part is when the UI is broke, like just makes it worthless. Yeah. Like, okay, I need a day to get my UI back up.
Yep. I was like all those LVOI guys. And I'm like, I know it's like I am happy that I've kept with the stock UI. And with what they've done now, like we didn't really necessarily talk about that, but I do think that the UI overhaul is pretty good. All said and done anyways. Probably still gonna definitely use weak auras and stuff like that for certain things. Because you can't blacklist or whitelist specific auras that I know of in the inherent or the little native UI thing. But and just because of the spec I'm playing, like Retribution is basically like a million buffs. So you just like you don't want to know about all of them. So you just track the ones that are important because otherwise you have like literally like this ongoing.
You need all the little icons. That's all you need. Fill them up everywhere.
It's like it's ridiculous.
Well, you get to play with it in live this week. Yeah, this week.
Yep, we're gonna try and we're gonna see what happens with live or whatever. But I know it's like I'm gonna do we're gonna try to do a raid or something like that. And
thanks for listening. That was, I don't know, to be determined.